and I am the Executive Leadership Director for the Keller Williams Southeast region. And we have a really, really exciting panel for you guys today. So these are the secrets of some of our most successful young professionals here across the Keller Williams Southeast region. We are so grateful for your time to come on today to share some of your tips and tricks. And we want to hear from all of you about what you're doing in your business, what this year looks like, how you use social media, how you have work-life balance. So we're going to touch on all of that today during this panel, and we're super excited for it. So first of all, thank you for our panelists for being here. Also, thank you for all the attendees who are signing on today. We want to let you know that you are muted and you're not on video, don't worry, but please feel free to utilize the chat box and ask any questions. We'll reserve most of those for the end. We'll try to make sure to save some time in the end for everyone to take care of that, but want to get to our questions that we have for our panelists that we know people are most interested in hearing, and then any individual questions, we want to get to those if we have time for it. All right, so first of all, I want to lead off with Mr. Rob, and I want him to introduce himself and tell you a little bit about what's going on with KWYP and what we're doing on this panel today. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Rob.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jenny, and thank you to the region here for getting everyone connected today. As Jenny said, my name's Rob Folia. I am the Southeast Regional Ambassador for the Keller Williams Young Professionals Organization, or KWYP. I know some of y'all may hear that term, Southeast Regional Ambassador, and think, what in the world is that? Like, I know the first time I heard that, especially with YP, I was like, I just didn't know what it even was. Basically, I'm a liaison between KWYP at the national level and our local chapters inside of the Southeast region. I'm also an agent out of the Nashville area, also a former KWYP chapter president, and very passionate about KWYP. I know for some on this call, this might be the very first time you've ever heard of YP or at least gotten to experience our culture in one of our events. So before our panel gets started, I just wanted to give you all a brief introduction into what our organization does. At KWYP, our mission is to grow the future leaders of our company, also future leaders of the real estate industry, of our community, and really of our world in general. To qualify to be a KWYP member, you simply have to be under the age of 40 and either be a real estate agent, an operations team member, or a market center staff member affiliated with KW. It's really that simple, and if you meet that criteria, you can sign up for KWYP. As I mentioned, our organization is all about creating future leaders. I mean, that means different things to different people. Some might hear that and think that, you know, they have dreams and aspirations of becoming the next team leader in their market center, maybe even the next CEO of Keller Williams. Some might aspire to be a larger leader in their community, maybe become a better parent or a better spouse. You're about to hear from 4 outstanding leaders inside of our Southeast region, the chapter presidents of KWYP Atlanta, Birmingham, Nashville, and Savannah, all of which are on that leadership journey, and KWYP is helping them as it's helping me. And while I could tell you all about all the great events similar to what we're going to be experiencing today, that KWYP does nationally, regionally, and locally at the chapter level, I can say, at least for me and for most members, I don't want to speak for our panel, but the biggest value that we deliver is community. At Keller Williams, culture is obviously paramount. I mean, we have some phenomenal offices and market center leadership, and they do a great job delivering the message of the Y4C2Ts. And at the same time, we're in an industry where the average age of a real estate agent is in the mid-50s. If you're an agent in your 20s or your 30s, you might feel like, I don't want to say an outsider, but the youngin, so to speak, especially just, I'm sure y'all know what I'm saying about that. And those that are attending can probably understand. And, at KWYP, we're all about building the community around the future leaders of our company, so you no longer feel that way. I think Simon Sinek said it best in his book, Together is Better, when he said, failure we can do alone and success always takes help. KWYP, by building community, can and will take you to what you consider success. And again, while I can't speak for everyone on the panel, I can tell you from my experience that the relationships I've formed inside of YP, they've not only helped me grow personally and professionally, they're becoming foundations of friendships and relationships that I'll likely carry for a long, long time. You see so many people, they join Keller Williams and they stay with Keller Williams because they feel like they're at home, or they feel like they found their tribe. With KWYP, I know I found my tribe within a tribe. All of my KWYP colleagues, not only locally, but also nationally, were growing businesses alongside of me, growing families alongside of me, growing lives alongside of me, and we'd love to have you come alongside us as well. So if the message from today's panel of succeeding as a young professional resonates with you, head over to KWYP.org and sign up for KWYP. If you have questions about joining a chapter, you can reach out to your local chapter president. or if maybe you don't have a local chapter, or maybe you're not aware of it, maybe you'd like to form one, reach out directly to me. There are 4 active chapters in the Southeast region. Those are Atlanta, Birmingham, Nashville, and Savannah. So if you're not in one of those areas, give me a shout. I'll put everyone's information in the chat box here in just a moment so you know how to reach us. And just know that at KWYP, we're your tribe if you're under 40 with Keller Williams. So yeah, all that said, let me turn it over to our panel.
Thanks, Rob. You are awesome. Thanks for all that information. And again, we'll have that in our chat box. So let's go ahead and start with our introductions and see who we have on with us today. So I would love to start with Ashton and Savannah, who I learned has the same Diet Coke addiction that I do. So go ahead, Ashton. Why don't you take it away and tell us a little about yourself?
Hey, I'm Ashton, and I'm a Diet Coke addict.
The first step is admitting it.
Yes. So I'm in Savannah, Georgia. I got into the real estate industry in June of 2018, and I got involved with KWYP at Mega Camp in 2019.
Okay.
And so after seeing the community there and making some of my actual best friends now that I stay in contact with every day all over the country, I was like sold on it and brought it back to Savannah to start the chapter here. So, and I'm an individual agent here as well.
Okay, individual agent there, Savannah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ashton. All right, Melissa, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey guys, I'm Melissa Kank, and I too am an addict, but of Coke Zero. I'm located in Brazelton, Georgia, and I serve as a director of operations for a mega agent team up here. We do about 57 million in production, and I've been with KW for 5 years and have been with YP for about a year and a half.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Melissa. So we're going to get an operations perspective on some of these questions. Love that. Okay, Isaac, let's go to you.
Hey guys, Isaac McDowell. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I have been an individual agent for the past almost 4 years. Just started a team and have an administrator and 2 agents. Let's see, I joined KWYP at Family Reunion, not this past year, but the year before. And we started the Birmingham chapter here in Birmingham. And for me as well, like once I met the culture of the people who were involved and got to know some of the people, it was very obvious that this was a group I wanted to be a part of.
It's awesome. Thank you so much for that intro. And Eric, what about you?
Oh.
Hey y'all, it's Eric Workman. I'm from the Nashville market. Been with KW for 8 years now. I was on a team, have had the privilege of owning a team or running a team for the last 5.5 years. The working group in Nashville. Been, like I said, been with KW for 8 years, my whole career. Plan to die here, and been with the YP, the KWYP since I think Mega Camp of 2017, somewhere around there. So been a part of it. Showed up to Mega Camp. Immediately, like Rob said, found my tribe, found my people, and had to get involved. And it's incredible to be able to reach out to agents that are in a similar situation all across the country and know that I can call on any one of them. So, yeah.
Love that. Thank you, Eric, for sharing that. And so, you know, what's interesting is that so many of you used those in-person events to be connected with KWYP. And unfortunately, being as we're in a global pandemic, if anyone missed the memo on that, those have been taken away from us. So it really is opportunities like this today to learn about this and get involved. And we're all looking forward to obviously getting back to in person one day. So we want to go over to the questions. And one of the biggest questions that we get from folks is when you're in this 20s and 30s group, there is a lot of balancing that goes on, whether that means it's due to your families or due to your age or student loan debt, or just lots of different things that are specific to this 20s and 30s age group. And I'm curious, I want to go ask the panelists kind of what are your best tips and tricks for obtaining that work-life balance as a young professional. So I'm going to mix things up and go down to Isaac and start with you, Isaac. What do you think?
Thanks. Well, for me, I have a family. I'm married and I have 2 kids, and family and work balance is very important. I think right at the beginning, you have to just make a decision. These are the things that are most important to me. Here at Keller Williams, we're very clear that it's God, family, business, and that resonates with me. And there are some specific things that I do to put my family, to put God first for my business. Mm-hmm. So the mentality is obviously that I'm in business to support my family and others in need. That's my reason for being in business. So I don't want to neglect them because I'm in business. One very simple thing, we have a lot of appointments in the evening. We're showing houses, we're doing listing appointments at 5, 6, or later sometimes. So my family has made the decision, we eat breakfast together. We get up every morning. We usually, well, sometimes we just eat cereal, but that's the one part of my day I can control for the most part. Sometimes I have breakfast meetings, but a work-life balance doesn't always make sense. I feel like a lot of times you have to swing in and spend time with family, and sometimes you have to swing out and take that time because your business needs it. Again, in business to support my family. So that's one of the specific things that we do in my family.
I love that. I love that idea of being able to control those mornings before the chaos of the day comes around and using that time to spend with your family. I think that's a fantastic idea. All right. Melissa, what would you say on this?
Well, I think I have a unique perspective here because I'm not an independent contractor. But I can tell you, as we coach our agents and just going into 2021 planning, we're very big on break out your year and take your time off. I know we hear that a lot, like take the time off first, right? Like, so we do that with our team, and we encourage them to take off every quarter. I would say probably people on the panel can agree that every 3 months, probably every quarter, you start to feel a little bit of a burnout, right? So we encourage that, and we tell our agents, like, be intentional with your time when you're on the clock, and that way when you're off the clock, you can be with your family. Me personally, I love to fill all my buckets in the morning. That is something I've heard Gary Keller say, and I think it holds true when I get up and I read the Bible or spend time with my kids before we leave the house to go to school, even exercise and things like that. I'm the best version of me throughout the day. So if I can fill all of those buckets, then I'm good.
Yeah, I love that. And that's when we have the most willpower is in the morning, typically. And so your battery life on your phone's at 100% before you get whittled down. Take advantage of that. Okay, sweet. Ashton, what do you have to say on this?
So coming from being a full-time college student and being involved in the construction industry, you basically have structure. You have your time set up for classes. You're working from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever the schedule may be. You get into an independent contractor position, there's no schedule. And if you get, I did at least get to the position where I was coming into the office every day and there was not any balance for quite some time. And so I kind of had to go through, like Isaac said, get your priorities, like what is more important to you. I'm going to be in the office 5 days a week, whether that looks like actually in the office prospecting or I'm going on meetings. And if I'm not doing 5 days, I'm going to do 4 days and 1 day of 2 open houses.
Okay.
And my balance, I try to keep it like that and then have at least Sunday off every week. And I try to take one other day, whatever day that is, that's not busy for me.
That's awesome.
That's kind of how I structure my balance. And then my girlfriend and I also plan at least one section off like one night per week to go have like a date night. So we don't just because she's also in management in the car industry. So their schedules can be crazy and late. So we try to go ahead and have that scheduled out at least once a week.
Right. Put it on your calendar, make it an appointment.
Exactly.
So, I sold houses for many years and I have an appointment. Now, whether that appointment was with my 2-year-old or whether that appointment was with, $1 million listing, they didn't need to know that, but the appointment was already on my calendar. And It was a great way to, let clients know when you are available or not. Eric, what do you have to say on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, I could echo the sentiments of every single one of these answers, right? We do breakfast with our family every morning. That's super important to us. We've got an almost 3-year-old little girl, and my life growing up was always chaotic of grabbing your Pop-Tarts, run out the door, catch the bus, and we never had that sit down time in the morning. So that's something super important to us. And then Jenny, like you just alluded to, everything on my calendar is an appointment, whether it's picking my daughter up from school, whether it's I'm going on a date night with my wife, whatever it is, that's an appointment. I don't have to justify that to anybody, and I put those on my calendar. So I think that's super important. And one thing that I will throw in here is I was told years ago, I don't know if it was at one of the live events or by my coach or what it was, but having the conversation about work-life balance, this person said, think about it as work-life integration and how you can integrate your life into your work, whether it's you're very, involved with your church or your community or whatever it is. How can you put those two lives together and integrate them so that you're working while you're living? We decided to integrate our life and have my wife come on board as director of ops for our team. So we've literally integrated our work-life balance. So I would say, give yourself permission not to work, put that on your calendar, and then stick to that, right? Because, like Melissa said, you will burn out. And when you burn out, you're not your best self. So give yourself permission and hold yourself to it.
And I think as young professionals, sort of by default, just from an age standpoint, you may be newer to the business. And I know in my first couple of years in the business versus my 8th to 10th year in the business, I did always put my clients' needs first before myself and before my family. And I'm not very proud of that at this point. My value proposition was, I'm available whenever you need me. That is not a good value proposition, my friends. So put those things on your calendar. And I love that everyone sort of debunked the myth of there being a work-life balance anyway. And so I love that. Well, let's go on to question number 2. So let's talk amongst each other about specific challenges you may have faced as a young professional, and what have you what have you done to overcome them? So things that you feel that you faced, and how did you get through them? So let's start with you this time, Ashton.
Okay, so I feel like jumping into the business at a young age, a lot of us don't have any prior career experience of any sort, much less in sales or real estate sales, or how do you write a contract? How do you properly convert leads? Is it worth it to buy a lead? Like, not knowing anything. And then going on appointments with people and convincing them to work with you when you think in your head that you know nothing, and you're also walking in with a baby face. So
right.
It's just from the rip, there's a ton of challenges to overcome. So I feel like it's very important to play the numbers game, especially when you're starting. Get in front of as many people as possible, go on those appointments. And instead, I think some people prepare and just continue on that route. I say, like, the best thing to do for me was getting in front of people and making those mistakes and learning from those mistakes, like, actively, instead of in a role play situation, because real life is always going to be completely different than another realtor spitting stuff at you on a screen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that. Just putting yourself out there and just going for it. Sometimes it's really all you can do.
That's it.
Eric, what would you say are some challenges that you faced, and what have you done to overcome them?
Sure. I was very lucky to be born with a full beard, so I never had the baby face. So I didn't have to deal with that. But no, so when I first got in, I was in management when I first got out of college, and in retail management, and it was tough. All of my staff, all of my employees were younger than me. I was the youngest person in the store, and that was tough. You have to have a confidence about you. You have to have an authority. And when I got into real estate, it was the same thing. I think it's mindset. I think if you go in there knowing how the process works, and you can be that expert, the average person may buy or sell 4 houses in their lifetime, right? So once you've sold 3 or 4 houses, you're above average, right? And you are literally an expert. So I think it's a lot of mindset. Go in there knowing what you're doing, understanding the process in and out. And then I think there's also power in saying you don't know, right? Don't try to fluff things. Don't try to come up with an answer just for the sake of, earning somebody's business. Say you don't know. Let me go back to my office and talk to one of my partners, right? We are a team. We are the largest real estate team in the world. Use that. There's power in saying we, team, whatever it is, my partner. So if you don't know the answer, that's no problem. Let me find that out for you. And then again, you're showing them that you're an expert.
That's right. I love that. And it is so much about mindset. In fact, I was 25 when I got into the business, and I convinced myself and everyone else that I was 30. So I was the person who lied up about my age for 5 years, because in my mind, a 30-year-old could sell houses, but not a 25-year-old. And let me tell you, between 25 and 30, I probably sold about 300 homes. And so it can be done. And to your point, after gaining confidence on what you're doing and admitting what you don't know. I love that, Eric. That's a great point. Isaac, can you share your experiences on this?
Absolutely. So I got into real estate in my late 20s and had been in restaurant management for a while. And I knew that there were certain things that people wanted out of a realtor. And the things that I found were they wanted people to communicate well, they wanted people to be trustworthy, and they wanted people to know the market. My business tends to be very sphere of influence. I've lived in Birmingham my whole life. And so the trouble that I had was a lot of them already had agents who had helped them buy or sell houses. So the identity I had created with most of the people who know me well was that I am trustworthy, that I am a good communicator. So the third aspect that I needed was the market knowledge. Somebody made a comment to me early on and said, Isaac, if you would just go preview 2 houses a day for 30 days, you would have your finger on the pulse of the market sooner or before most agents in the market. And so I did. I started previewing houses. I became an expert in an area very quickly. I knew what things were selling for. I knew what things were listing for, and I could tell you if something was overpriced. And creating that market knowledge to add to the things that I already had was really big for me.
Yes. I learned early on, you don't need a buyer to go in a house.
Nope.
So I did the same thing. I think that's great. Rob, be thinking of your answer on this, because after we go to Melissa, I do want to come to you on this question, because I can tell you're enthusiastic about it. Melissa, what do you say on overcoming some of the challenges you face as a young professional?
And just to piggyback on some of the points that everybody's made, just mindset, confidence, and a lot of it's just connecting with people. It's at finding out what they want. And when you make the connection and you actually drill down and ask them, what are you looking for in a realtor? Age is just a number. But for me, it was, and this was a big reason why I got involved with YP, was I needed to find people my age that thought as big as I did and wanted a big life like I did. And so I found that in my market, and if it's just me and the rainmaker and we're on the same page, which is great, and we still are, that wasn't enough. I felt like I needed a community of people that were close in age. I feel like I'm on the higher end. I'm 35. And so I just wanted to be surrounded by people that had that mindset, that love to challenge you. Just in the conversations I've had with Rob or KWRI, you get pushed. And so that's what I love about YP, and that's what really brought me here. And that's the challenge, is finding people that think the way that you do and think and want big things.
Yeah, that's such an excellent point. And that buddy system, if you don't have a buyer, you're taken into a house. I actually found another person my age in my office when I first started. And that's what we did, is I went and I pretended to be the real estate agent, and then she did, because I needed to learn how to open a lockbox, not look stupid in front of my clients when I tried to do it for the first time, right? So everyone experiences these things, and finding that community within it is just a great place to start. So Rob, what about you? What challenges have you faced and overcome as a young professional?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, it's a tough question to probably pick just one, but the biggest thing that probably pops in my head right now, it would be around mindset. I think it's very easy to say fake it till you make it on things. It's very easy to say something along those to portray confidence and things along those lines. And at the same time, I think everybody on the panel kind of hinted at, you're learning something new. A lot of times you don't have either sales experience, you don't have real estate experience, you don't have some of that experience, whatever it might be. And so I guess the way that I overcame maybe that, I don't want to say lack of confidence, because I tend to be a pretty confident guy, although, anyway, though, what I'm getting at is education. Education is probably the biggest thing that helped me overcome it. I mean, I'm wearing my bold band right now. I'm 12 times bold. I mean, I've got my bold laws on the board, on my wall, excuse me. And so
a lot of time.
And so it's something that education has helped me big time, and all the education inside of KW. And that's honestly one of the reasons why I've gravitated toward YP over the years since I joined, because there are so many great educational opportunities in the organization, nationally, locally, that it helps with growth.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, guys, let's go to our third question. And this question is just kind of asking you personally about your business. So kind of where does your business come from, and how much of it would you attribute to coming from an active social media engagement, or what platforms in that and what resources for that virtual world, social media world, would you say it comes from your business? And so let's go to Eric first on this one.
I'm gonna be honest. The world's worst millennial. I'm really bad at social media. It's something that's on our 2021 135 that we are actively working on getting better about that. 2020 has pushed us to that, doing more things virtually. So it's something we're actively doing. We try to post for our open houses. We're doing videos, videos for that. So yeah, we're really not doing a whole lot with that. We're running a lot of Facebook ads, through command. So we are using that. We're working on, getting that up to a high level of conversion. And yeah, the majority of our business comes from Sphere and open houses, and that's what we stick to. So I genuinely don't have a great social media platform answer. That's something that we're adding to our arsenal for next year.
So you're telling me that you can be successful without it, but maybe you can be even more successful with it.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Awesome, Eric. Okay, Isaac, what do you have to say on this topic?
I don't use social media for a lot of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my business is a sphere of influence. Like I said, Birmingham my whole life. I worked in restaurants before. A lot of the people that I already know are the ones I do business with. So my goals with social media are always focused on staying top of mind, being seen as a market expert, and just fun. Eric, as you jump into social media, kids, puppies, people love it. Honestly, I'm very active on social media on a personal level, and I try to take moments that I am working to make posts on and I'm very active on Instagram. We use Facebook to post events that my team does and whatnot, but mostly Instagram. Mm-hmm. So I try to use Instagram to remind people I'm a realtor on my personal sites. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm showing this awesome house here today, and this is something funny that I saw. Mm-hmm. And that's a personal post because I'm a realtor. This is what I do for my business.
Right.
But I'm reminding them I am a realtor. I'm in business. So to me, it's all about staying top of mind with my sphere of influence and my following.
And being authentic, to your point.
Right.
And then
and talking about moving forward till this year, YouTube is the one area that is in my 2021 plan to do more videos for YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I think that, so you said you use Instagram more than Facebook at this point?
Most everything all the stories go straight from Instagram to Facebook. But we don't use Facebook as much as Instagram.
Right. Instagram's your main platform for posting, and you let it push into Facebook.
Right.
I'm finding that to be the case. Melissa, what do you and your team do?
We have a team Facebook account and Instagram account. So what we do is some of our agents have like a business account, but we try to encourage them just to use their personal pages and just share the posts. For us, that's why you're on a team, right? For leverage. And so they do a lot of that. Or like Isaac was saying, if they go out to a home, they'll post on their stories too. So we try to use social media a lot just for branding. And we haven't really had to rely on it a lot. About 70% of our business comes from Sphere or Sphere referrals. So we're very blessed in that. But because Command is rolled out for teams and all of those things, we've dived in this year. And so we've actually been running ads on there and have noticed a big engagement when we're doing videos. So now we're trying to incorporate more videos of our listings, and we get in about 200 leads a month through Facebook, and we probably spend about $100 to $125 to bring in that, which we're converting those into appointments. So this is our first year that probably the last 6 months that we've really dived into that social media aspect of our business.
Got it. But your agents on your team, so you encourage them to use their personal page. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, because we didn't want them to have to manage another business page when all of their sphere and their network is on their personal page anyway. So they'll post, pictures at closings. We try not to bombard people with, here's a listing, here's a listing, here's a closing, here's a closing. We actually changed our branding to be we're going on this thing called Project Home. And so when we post a picture of a closing, we're actually posting the client's story to make a connection to our brand of helping people find home.
That's right. That's right. And I think keeping that, you know, I know you mentioned it too, Isaac, that you use your personal page and your personal experiences. You know, none of us, I think, are really just super interested in following a business page where we know that all they're doing is feeding us something that they're selling, whether that's, you know, a listing or their services. This is about is staying, to your point, top of mind with those people around you. One of the best ways you can do that is when they open their phone, based on these algorithms, the more active you are, the higher you get pushed into up to the top of their news feeds. And so your stories appear first and your posts appear first. And again, it trains people's minds to know that you're in real estate. Ashton, tell us a little bit about your experience with social media.
So my experience with social media is that basically right now, my main focus is on Facebook.
Okay.
I use my personal page. I started off heavily when I got into real estate using the business page, but whenever the organic reach on the business pages just dropped significantly, like my personal page is mostly sphere of influence as well as my business page. So by posting on my personal page, I'm getting a lot more engagement. And by engaging with other pages, and I, like you were saying, keeping it authentic, keeping it fun. I do post a lot about work, but I try to make it like funny or like having a good time with it, because I actually do just have a good time with it every day. So, and just like relaying that to people and keeping top of mind instead of just being like, oh, well, this was a really great closing with blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, if I hit people with that every single day, it wouldn't be fun, but I just try to like go post like time-lapse videos of like putting signs up or like funny video tours of homes, stuff like that. But my goal for 2021 is to get leverage and be more active on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yeah.
Because right now, just like running the business by myself, doing everything from marketing to showing homes, listing homes, entering things into MLS myself, I don't really have time to do all those other things and have that work-life balance we talked about earlier. So leverage and getting on all platforms is a goal for 2021.
Well, that brings us actually to the next question. And so I'm going to start with you on the Ashton,
Okay.
a repeat of that. But this would be, if you could go back to the beginning of 2020, or maybe even this time last year as you're planning for 2020, and you know what you know now, what would you do differently? And what are your goals and ways to improve for 2021?
Exactly what I said. I would have gotten active on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram immediately at the beginning of the year, since we were basically shut down for a few months. Like having that engagement across all platforms would have been super beneficial this year. And like a lot of people had life stuff thrown at them. They had COVID thrown at them. I mean, so there's just a lot going on, and really like put the brakes on my business for a solid like 4 months because I was not prepared. So knowing that and implementing that, get rolling into 2021 to prevent being behind the curve again if something else were to pop up, you know.
Right.
And then I think the second part was 2020. You were saying like, what are the 2021 goals or plans? Okay. So we did our ALC business planning clinic in mid-October. And I took that. It was an amazing clinic. I got a ton of value out of it. But then last month I read the 12-week year, and I took my business plan for the year and broke it down into quarters. And I talked with my coach about it, and he was like, yeah, man, all for it. Like, go hard for 12 weeks at a time, and then take a week for yourself if you want to. Like we were talking about earlier, like burn out every quarter. Take that week, like work hard, set those yearly goals, break them down into quarters, and take a little bit of time for yourself. And that's how I'm going to roll into 2021.
Yes, we are. I was looking to see my book. It's actually right over there on my little table, but we're reading the 12-week year here at the region. We've challenged our OPs and TLs across the region to do the same. I think that's a great approach to take, and something a little differently, because I know that, you know, in the beginning of 2020, that first quarter looked way different from the second quarter, right? And if you had a plan for 2020 as far as a year goes, I don't know, maybe you hit it, but probably you didn't. And if you could plan your year a quarter at a time, that does seem to make a lot more sense, because you can pivot faster and because you can adjust goals and you can adjust activities, and it makes a lot of sense. I love that you brought that up. Thank you, Ashton. Isaac, what can you tell me about, if you could go back to the beginning of 2020, I understand no one really wants to do that, but if you could, knowing what you know now, and you could act differently, what would that look like? And what are you setting up for in 2021?
Thanks. So I'm going to take a little different approach.
Okay.
2020 has been very good for me professionally. Being at home and being under the gun to, we talked about this, to provide for my family and grow my business. We were under the gun. Had a lot of really good encouragement from my team leader, from my MAPS coach, and we set a system. We pivoted pretty quickly to call and care for my my sphere of influence, to care for people. And again, we talked about my business, sphere of influence. I want to be genuine. So we just went all the way down to say, hey, what's going on with you? How can I help you? And I built more trust with my people. And September was my second biggest month ever.
Awesome.
And no, I didn't hit all of my annual goals.
Right.
We were in a pandemic for a few months, and that's okay. I've learned so many great lessons of how to be consistent and call people, and how to do lead gen and ask for business when over several months we cared for people, and you make deposits into that account and are able to, call and ask for help. Have big goals for 2021. Going into 2021, we're still building. I've got 2 new guys on my real estate team, and we're putting more of those processes in place for how many people are you going to make a 36 touch plan for and communicate with on a consistent basis. Right. That's going to be huge for all of us in 2021 on my team, and adding a little bit of the marketing with the YouTube. I'm really excited. I know it's been a hard year for me and my family and everybody. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, it's all been, rainbows and sunshine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I've learned so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It is about the lessons. And, I think we should all be quite grateful for the real estate market. I was on a call yesterday, and we mentioned this, such a dichotomy between the real estate market is a market that's taken off and done really well this year. And then there's so many other industries that really, truly completely crumbled. And so we are so fortunate within this to be on that end of things, and we can take advantage of it and learn a lot of lessons from it and be prepared moving forward. Melissa, what about your team? Can you talk to us a little bit about what you might have done differently and what you guys are going to do moving forward?
I muted myself. Okay. I want to point it out. As soon as you asked that question, I think everybody kind of tilted their head back and just rolled their eyes a little bit as we go back to the beginning of this year. But I've just been thinking about this question, and I feel like this entire year has been just a complete blur. Going back to March, when I think back of that, just our team, kind of the panic, the fear, the mindset, just all of those emotions were probably what took the biggest toll. And it was just keeping everybody in check and positive. We're going to get through this. And honestly, our team's been awesome. They were all in, and we kept engagement and everything like that. And so we're actually going to break some records this year for our team personally, which is great. And we're excited about that. So what we did for taking everything that happened in March to set for 2021, when we started planning for this upcoming year, we took into account client events. That kind of stuck us or hit us this year was, okay, well, we had every event was in person, and we couldn't even hold 2 of them because by the time everything just happened so fast, right? So we planned for that in 2021, planning on checking in on our database, right? I think we're all starting to hear about shutdowns and things like that. For me, I'm just being intentional about who I'm connecting with across the country. There's somebody I know in California, and she's telling me that they've already shut down. And so that's something we didn't do in the beginning of this year, was really scan the market and to see what was happening everywhere else, because eventually it hit in Atlanta, which hit us in March. So just masterminding a lot. And like this week, we're all in quarantine at home, which is one of the first weeks in a while. And so this has been a good trial run for us to be more digital. That was another thing. We weren't really that digital. And so now we've been kind of running our business from home all week as a good test run to see what are we missing, where do we need to improve and stuff like that. And so far it's gone great. So yeah.
I love that. And you know, it was really, really scary in the spring when everything happened and hit. None of us knew what to expect. And now, while we might not know exactly what to expect, you can't.
Right.
We have a better understanding of what this can look like and how we can still operate it. I love the test runs of, can we do this if we were to go into quarantine? Do we all know what we need to do? Who do we need to be reaching out to? And what do we do first? And so I think that's a great plan for 2021. Eric, what say ye about this topic?
So if I could go back in time, I would buy all Zoom stock. That's where I would put all of my investment money. No, so I think we're in a really cool situation right now. You know, as unfortunate as it is where we are, we're headed back into shutdown again. Mm-hmm. But this time, we've been there before. It's not new. It's not different. We've experienced it for the last 8 months. So we're moving in a direction that we're familiar with. So at this point, it's just pivot and go. Versus before, where I think from like March to August, I saw agents going, I'm going to wait for it to go away. I'm going to wait. And here we are on like the 8th month anniversary of flattening the curve, and it's clearly not happening. So I think we're headed towards another shutdown potentially. So we've moved a lot of our stuff virtually. We're doing virtual showings. We're doing virtual open houses. I did a listing appointment at 8:45 the other night when my daughter went down and my client's kids went down. We had a glass of wine over Zoom. Take your computer, walk me around your house, tell me about it. We looked at comps live. I shared my screen. We went through it, and we're going to be listing their house in the spring. Like, that was great for me because I closed my computer and I didn't have to drive. I didn't have to do it. So there's a convenience factor to this. There's a safety factor. My clients felt like I was really, you know, lending a hand to them and contributing to their safety. You know, so I think we're in a really cool moment right now that we sort of know what we're getting into because we've been there before. The other thing that Isaac alluded to, I believe it was you, that was talking about, you know, calling people and you know, trying to contribute to them. We changed this year on our calendar. We have every morning from 9 to 11, it was call time every day of the week except Saturday and Sunday. So Monday through Friday, call time. We literally changed the title of that calendar to contribution time, right? That time is now call your people, ask them, how are you doing? We're all experiencing this pandemic. Real estate, you know, it's crazy right now. Interest rates are low. Everybody wants to talk about that. Did you lose your job? Do you need help? How can I help you? Is your family doing okay, right? These calls have become so easy to have. And everybody's home. Everybody's, you know, sitting at their house, they're bored. So when you call them, they're like, hey, what's up? Haven't heard from you. Let's talk. Like, I've had longer conversations with clients in the last 6 months than I have in the last 8 years. And I've gotten to know them on a different level, which is really special. And then the other thing moving forward to 2021 is we were very, very, very event heavy in what we do. We were hosting events every single month. Obviously, that's not happening. So one of the big, really powerful events that we did, I think it was in September, was we did a virtual cocktail class. There's a lady here locally that teaches how to make certain cocktails. And so we paid for the class and we invited our top 20 referral partners, clients that have referred us business, vendors, whoever it was that referred us business this year. And we all hopped on a Zoom call, and my wife went and bought all the alcohol, the fruits, everything, hand delivered it to every person's house. And we hopped on Zoom for 2 hours, made cocktails, and just hung out in our own homes. And it was an unbelievable event. So I think there's ways, and there's a lot of creative opportunity there that exists where you can't physically be in person, but you can do a lot of really cool things with Zoom because it's not new anymore. Everybody's done it. So figure out ways to get creative. That's what we're planning an event a month virtually for 2021, assuming that this doesn't go back to normal.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty safe assumption. And even if it doesn't, to your point, the convenience factor plays into a lot of people. I mean, I know the only other person from here on here right now in Atlanta is Melissa, but I'm sure the rest of you can understand that Atlanta traffic went away during the pandemic. You could show more houses, you can get places, you can, I mean, it just completely disappeared. And so the convenience of staying at home and being able to log on to Zoom, and there are options for events that are kind of this interesting mix if it's not a shutdown. I know some teams are doing a drive-in movie for their clients, so where they may have done a movie theater beforehand. So masterminding with other people across the country about what are you doing to create these hybrid events. Go ahead and plan for those now for 2021. Don't make any assumptions about anything. What can you do to be prepared and not have to redo your entire business plan as you go into next year? All right, so next question here is going to come swing us back around to KWYP. I know many of you have touched on this, but I would love for each of you to share with the attendees. So how has Keller Williams Young Professionals helped you grow both personally and professionally? And if there's anything else you'd like to add about it, then I'd love to hear from you. So Ashton, let's start with you.
So getting into YP, I think most people can experience this, especially if you get in at a younger age into the industry. You feel kind of secluded and alone a lot of the time. I know I did come into the office and sat in an empty office and cold called FSBOs for hours every single day. And after a few months of that, it starts taking its toll. You know, the only people you talk to are people that don't want to talk to you, and then you talk to people whenever you get home, and that's it. And that's your life, or it was for me for the first few months. And finding YP really kind of built the sense of community and culture that KW so proudly tells the world about our culture. And being part of KWYP, you actually get engaged in it, especially as a young professional. You can feel secluded, or I did here in Savannah, just because I didn't really know anybody else when I got into the industry. So jumping into YP, I found this community, and some of my best friends have come out of this community. So having that experience, bringing it back to Savannah to be able to help other people that are getting into the business and help reduce that failure rate and help keep people with KW because they get to experience that community here. Mm-hmm. So personally, I would say that it's helped me grow as a leader for sure. Like since day one, since I got involved, and I had been involved for like a month before I decided to try to like launch a chapter. Mm-hmm. So immediately you're having to learn, how do I find the right people to fit in the right seats? How do I manage them? How do I make sure that we're all doing what we need to do? Am I doing what I need to do so that they can do their job properly? You know, so it's like once you take on the position to be their president, vice president, or any of the chairs even, you take on a lot of responsibility, because you're not just responsible for yourself at that point. You're actually responsible for helping them grow their business. What do they need? How can you add value to them while you're also growing your own business? Mm-hmm. So that's how I grew personally. Professionally, the network of like-minded individuals like we have here and just across the country, it's an amazing network. And you can kind of just brainstorm with people, give them a call, see what's working for them in their area. What are they doing differently? And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just call up a friend and see what they're doing, because they're all killing. I mean, everyone in YP, for the most part, that's been in for any length of time is killing the game. Right. So if you can give them a call and ask, everybody is an open book. So it's just a huge opportunity for growth by being a part of this group.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Ashton. All right, Melissa, let's go to you, girl. What do you think?
So as Ron described us, he said we're a community, and he said we're a tribe. And that's probably the best word to describe YP. When you ask that question, I think of two words. I think of the word push, and I think of the word fierce conversations. Professionally, I feel like I've grown kind of in mindset. There's things that we've kind of just done within our chapter that people said we couldn't do. A big thing is we were able to snag Gary Keller for an interview for our launch, and people told me that we couldn't do it. They said he's too busy, whatever. And we did it. And so to me, that's just proof of how that's pushed my thinking, and I didn't let other people push me to tell me that it couldn't be done. And it's just the community of people, the support, the masterminding, like Ashton said, the willingness of people that want to share the success of their business or share the success of growing a chapter. There's so many chapter presidents I've talked to across the country as we were starting our chapter, just learning from them. And honestly, when you become a chapter president, you're almost coaching people in a sense. So far, I've had the opportunity to coach somebody in Buckhead about hiring an assistant. Like, why do you need an assistant? So you're kind of pushed in different conversations and things like that. And personally, it's changed the conversations that I have at home, the conversations I have with my husband, my parents, my children, our team members. The way that we build wealth, like what does retirement look like? And when you're surrounded in this tribe and you see people and their success and their growth, it's so encouraging. And we see it all the time. We have our own little Facebook community, and you see people get promoted into different positions and move across the country and do things. And that's so inspiring to watch and to see, and you celebrate them, because even though they're not like right beside you, your BFF, you still care about them, and it's fun to watch people win, especially in our community. So those are my two things: is push and fierce conversations, and just kind of that growth in those two things.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa, for sharing that. All righty, let's move on down to Isaac. What do you have to say about KWYP?
Yeah, thanks. So I'd say there's two different aspects to this to me, and it's very obvious that the national level, I've made so many really good relationships with people like Rob and other people I've made really good relationships with that, like Ashton was talking about, we've created these relationships where we call and we chat and we talk about, what's going on in our business and how we can help each other grow. And it's been very encouraging to have other people who are like-minded individuals who are growing their business and trying new things and being the same age, being the same stage of life a lot of times, and business a lot of times. We think differently, but we're all kind of headed in the same direction. So it's very encouraging to find like-minded individuals who are trying to come up with new ideas. And if somebody's doing something in Texas or Nashville or Atlanta and nobody's doing it here, we can use some of the same ideas, and we don't care. We're glad to share our ideas and our plans with each other. So on a national level, like the referral basis and the relationships I've built there have been that personal piece for me. The professional level here, I didn't know when I first got in that I could just join KWYP. We didn't have to start a chapter. Now, obviously, once you build up a group, you can start a chapter. We just jumped right in and started a chapter. And it's been really good for me to be helping others who are newer in the business or, working on things that I have worked on. I think one of the best ways that I learn is by teaching, because
Right.
you have to be able to articulate, this is how I did that, not just, oh, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
This is the system that I used. And
That's right.
helping people through those has really helped me put systems around a lot of the things that I do. And that's been amazing.
That's great. Yeah. You're growing your own business by helping others, which is just such a wonderful flywheel effect. Great. Okay, Eric, wrap us up on your thoughts on KWYP and how it's helped in your life.
Yeah, for sure. So, I could echo, again, a lot of what these guys have all said. One of the biggest things for me is the willingness to help each other out. One of my favorite leadership and growth analogies is the footprints in the snow, right? We all know the name Ben Kinney, right? He's way out there as far as where I am on my pathway. So I don't see his footsteps in the snow because the snow is covering him back up. So I have a tribe all across the country of other young professionals that I can call and say, hey, Isaac, I got a question about this. I know you're building a team. I did this. how did this work for you, right? And I have these real relationships that I can do that, that are going to be a little bit different than somebody else doing it here locally, right? You know, so the willingness to help each other out and create that culture. There's also, when we get back in person, there's an incredible opportunity for culture. When you go to these mega camps and family reunions, there's 18,000 agents. I remember my first time going, I don't know anybody. I don't know what to do. What, you know, now I've got friends all over the country that I cannot wait to get back in front of and have a drink and hug and just say, good to see you again, right? So that is just an incredible opportunity. And then, you know, on the professional side of things, the referrals that come from it, right? We live in a society now where people can work from anywhere. And so people are very transient. They're moving all over the country. It's not just buy a house and stay for 30 years. People are buying and selling a lot more frequently than they ever have. And so to have actual real connections with people all across the country is incredibly advantageous for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're, to Melissa's point earlier, I mean, they're like-minded people, right? They're people similar to you on your life path, which just helps make those connections and helps make them faster and can solidify them when you're experiencing and you're going through the same things. I know that for me, when I first got into real estate, it surprisingly felt like a very lonely business, even though we were surrounded by people all day. And I think that the key to that is finding that tribe, and it's finding the community and the family. And while Keller Williams offers it, the subset within it is so important, and I think just such a value for so many people. Well, Rob, can you wrap us up with information on how to get more information about KWYP or signing up, or any final thoughts from you, and then we'll jump off our webinar today.
Absolutely. And man, that was a great panel. I'm so grateful that we were able to all get together today to share. I know I have a page full of notes here, and I hope everybody does as well. And I'm grateful for everybody for giving their last hour to our growth. Now, if today's panel has resonated with you and you're not a KWYP member yet, you know, it's very simple. Go to KWYP.org and you can sign up today to become a member of KWYP. As Isaac said, you don't even have to have a chapter necessarily in your area to get started. Like, our region obviously spans basically all of Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. I know there are a couple outlying areas in there, but basically all three of those states. And so, for instance, if you're in Huntsville, and you know, we don't have a chapter in Huntsville yet, and yet if you're interested in this, you can sign up and still be a member of the national chapter. As a region, you know, one of my goals in taking on this role as a Southeast Regional Ambassador for KWYP is to link up all the chapters together to where we can do more events like this. We can all kind of jump on each other's, you know, virtual calls, especially in this COVID age when everything is virtual. It makes it simple, and so that's part of my goal, and we can continue to grow together and win together. And so if you've got any questions, reach out to your chapter president. I put in the chat box everybody's everybody's contact info. So feel free to reach out to your chapter president. You can reach out to me. My info's in there as well. Happy to answer your questions, and we'd love to have you come grow alongside of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of information on the site, things that I shamefully didn't even know about, the ability to join with teams and admins joining, and really all of the key benefits. So check that stuff out and ask questions and reach out and really take advantage of these opportunities that we have with Keller Williams. So we'll stay on another 2 to 3 minutes if anyone wants to put any questions in the chat box to our specific panelists, and otherwise we will hop off. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you again to our panelists. Thank you again to Rob. You guys have been awesome and such a value to our Keller Williams community. So thanks again. Anybody have any questions? We'll wait for a couple of minutes. Ashton, it sounds like I got to go follow you on social media, dude.
Yeah, Facebook.
Yeah, oh, Facebook. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
We have fun on Facebook.
Okay, good. I'll steal some ideas. I always love being entertained by agents on Facebook. It's my favorite topic. Okay, so somebody asks about recommendations for a team versus an individual agent for a brand new agent. Anyone want to take that? Let one person answer it. Okay, Eric.
And I'm happy to jump on there because I did both. I was an individual agent for about 2 months and realized that was hard. I didn't know what I was doing. I needed to align myself with the team. Did that and then went off to be an individual and then grew a team. So I I think you've got to have that conversation with yourself as far as what are your goals. When you essentially work for a team or with a team, you're helping build that brand and you're using that brand as leverage to grow your business. When you're individual, you're growing your own brand. So I think you just have to look at your own goals to decide what you're looking for. I think anybody can absolutely do it on their own. And I think, that's an opportunity. But I think, there's a lot of value in being on a team as well. So you just have to look internally and decide, what's right for you and your goals looking forward.
And if you haven't
I don't think there's one way right or wrong. I think you just got to look inside. Yeah.
Agreed. And if you haven't taken the KPA, that's a great tool to look at and kind of determine from your personality what makes the most sense. And then, of course, you can venture off from that. Just as you said, Eric, you were an individual, then on a team, an individual and built a team. Now you're that empire builder for a lot of people. You were an empire builder. Now you have empire builders on your team. But looking at your KPA and determining where you might fit best out of the gate is a really helpful tool that Keller Williams offers. So that's something else you may want to lean into. And then someone else asks, consistency for posting client stories. Melissa, I know you had answered a question in the chat box about that earlier. So when you put client stories up, what are you guys doing on that front?
We got a little key made that has our logo on it, and it says like home sweet home or something like that. It just depends on if they're a buyer or seller. And then we just ask our agents to turn in the picture with who it is, with a little something special that happened throughout their transaction. And so we don't really say like on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're going to post these. Typically most closings happen on Friday. So probably like the first half of a week, we're posting about those. So it's all in when the client or when the agent gets us the picture, but it's pretty steady. And then at the end of the month, we're almost bombarded with those, right? Because most closings happen at the end. So we don't really have a rhythm to that.
As far as your consent, are you just asking them like, hey, do you mind if we post this on our social media?
I think that is what the agents are asking, but most of the people, like when they're snapping the picture is when they say that. And we haven't had anybody tell us no, because they're excited. They've either just sold or bought a new home, and they want the shout out too. And sometimes our clients will actually share that to their Facebook page, which is awesome.
Right. You can also,
I would say is
last names either. That's another thing.
We say like the
name, and never tagged without permission.
Yeah, we'll say.
Well, I'd say that story piece is what she's talking about. So there's a close friend of mine at church bought an investment property, and I was like, hey, I'd love to tell your story because I think a lot of people want to invest in real estate like you. How much of this are you comfortable with me sharing? Right. And he said, man, just share, go for it.
Yeah. That's such a great point. So I think you just ask. You just ask.
Yeah.
For the most part, if you just ask, your clients want to help you. People want to help other people, and go for it and ask the question. So, all right, guys. Well, I think that's it for our questions. We'll get everybody carrying on with your day. Stay warm out there. Good luck and have successful end of your year and beginning of next year. And we will see you guys soon. Thanks again.